Hey, aloha, and welcome back to the So What podcast. Today, I have a guest that I'm super stoked to have. I've known him my whole life, and he's my older brother, Troy, and he's super inspirational. He's got a lot of really awesome things that he shares, and I thought it would be a really unique opportunity to record that and share that with the world. And I hope you enjoy the conversation. With that, I'm gonna let Troy give a quick or however long introduction he like, and we're gonna talk stories from there. All right, welcome.
You, aloha. Let me just start off by sharing with you how I start every single day. Yeah. Once I wake up in the morning and I realize I'm alive, I'll always say thank you. And then I say to myself, since tomorrow is not guaranteed, today, I'm going to be the best Troy Walter I can be. I'm going to spread joy and aloha wherever I am. I'm going to take them one more step further, right? Since tomorrow is not guaranteed, I'm not going to waste any time being mad, sad, angry, jealous, depressed, pissed off about anything. When I do feel one of those emotions during the day or several of them during the day, I stop and I look at what's causing it. I thank it for the lesson that it's teaching me. Maybe I have to be more loving, more kind, more understanding, more patient, whatever the lesson is, right? Because if it's bothering me in a negative way, then there's something I need to learn. Because honestly, this journey that we're on, we just need to be happy, joyful, and the negativity of it allows us to see what joy and happiness is, right? So every morning, it's thank you for another day. Since tomorrow's not guaranteed, today I'm gonna be the best Troy Walter I can be. I'm gonna spread joy and aloha wherever I am. And since tomorrow's not guaranteed, not wasting any time on any negative emotions. If I do feel one of those, I'm gonna look at what's causing it, thank it for the lesson, forgive myself for getting upset, forgive whatever, whoever it is about face, and by choice, go back to being happy and joyful. In the past, I always kind of been an aloha guy. I think I just didn't have the tools to deal with negativity and the things that we're all caught up in this world. A lot of us when we wake up, we immediately think about problems and issues that we need to solve and bills we gotta pay and how we're gonna make this money and stuff like that, right? And I used to be like that, and it really robbed me of my joy because I'm just so worried and caught up about the things that this world basically has us doing, right? And my journey has been very interesting. I don't want to go too the kind because this might be on 5 hour podcast. Oh, and you know what? I'm an old man. I'm gonna be 57 pretty soon. Is this what this is? A podcast?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
You're good.
So
You're good.
yeah, so I just didn't have tools. It all started for me maybe about 16 years ago. One of my very negatively charged brothers, this guy George Rodenhurst, I love him to death, known him since the first grade, gave me a copy, a burnt copy of Rhonda Byrne's The Secret. It's funny because brother George, I love him to death, but he's very negatively charged instead of positively charged, right? And so I watched it and I was blown away because basically the secret is just about being positive, speaking positive, thinking positive, and you manifest that kind of stuff, right? On the flip side, if you're negative and you're always talking shit, pardon my French, you only gonna manifest more negativity, things like that. And so right after watching it, I was like, this is just about safeguarding your speech and your thinking, right? And so it kind of vibed with me a lot and I kept rewatching it. And every time I rewatched it, I learned something new. And there's so many contributors on that program. So I ended up reading their books or more so watching their videos and stuff. And it's taken me on this wild journey. I really believe that it has made me a better human being. I no longer, stress out and worry about what's going on. I drive a Mac Tools truck. And so I'm in a different area every day. It's a set route. And when my customers come on the truck, I sell tools for a living, but my mission is not to sell tools every day. My mission is to spread joy and aloha. The tools sell themselves, right? So plenty times when, the brothers come on the truck and whatnot, Uncle Troy or Brother Troy, how you doing today? And they're gonna hear my whole speech. And I grew up dropping F bombs. That's just kind of how I speak, right? So, they're gonna ask me, Uncle Troy, how you doing today? And I'm like, I'm fan fucking tastic because I woke up this morning and tomorrow's not guaranteed. So today I'm gonna be the best Troy Walter I can be, and I'm gonna spread joy and aloha wherever I am, right? And I go into that whole speech and stuff, and You know what? Every week they keep coming back on my truck, right? And a lot of them intentionally will ask me that question because they know I can't help it. It's just gonna fall out of my face, right? It's amazing because plenty times it seems like I'm touching them maybe in their soul or their heart some way, right? It's to the point where I just can't help it anymore. This falls out of my face all day long, every day. If I talk to you for more than 2 minutes, whether we're on the phone, bruh, strangers, people in the mainland, right, are calling for business kind stuff and whatnot. And then, it might turn out to be if I'm catching a certain vibe on the conversation. And even if I'm not, I still would bust them out. But I can't help it. And I'm like, hey, you mind if I share with you how I start every morning, right? I remember a few years back, Jason, you're like, Troy, do you know why you always have an amazing day? And I was like, well, I don't know. He goes, the things that you say at the beginning of every day, you're setting your intention for the day. And that hit me like a ton of bricks because I didn't realize that's what I was doing, right? So I thought about it a little bit more and I was like, wow, you know what? Yeah. Because ever since I started doing this, I reflect every day, right? I put myself into a zone of gratitude every night and I reflect. And every day when I reflect, at the ending of the day, it's always been an amazing day. Because I'm driving that big truck, right? And sometimes I go from Waipahu all the way to Campbell. So, you're driving and your mind wanders and stuff like that, right? And sometimes if you're not paying attention, negativity creeps in. And then you run with that negativity if you're not paying attention, right? And yeah, I don't
Oh,
like negativity because I feel it in my whole body. So I've developed some tools that I use to combat that, right? And then it's also kind of part of the law of attraction as well. How you think and how you speak, what you're gonna manifest. Yeah. So as I'm driving my truck, especially when I'm going on one long stretch, I'm thinking, thank you for my amazing life. Thank you for things always working out for me. Thank you for money coming often and easily. And I just repeat that in my head. That way, I'm focused on gratitude. I'm focused on, the things that I need and I want and desire by those three statements. When I get tired of that, I switch it off to other things. I kind of practice this thing called self identity through Ho'oponopono. So when I get tired of saying one thing, then I'll switch over and I'll say to myself, I picture myself as a little boy, right? In my mind's eye, I have a picture of myself as a little boy. And I say to that little boy, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And thank you. All day long, right? That's running through my head. And then when I get to the shops and I interact with other human beings, right? I catch chicken skin so much now on my truck, and I love it because anytime I catch chicken skin, the other brother that I talking to or conversing with is catching chicken skin as well, yeah. So all day long, I'm having these chicken skin moments, and I truly believe it's the conversation that is touching our souls that's giving me that chicken skin, yeah. That's kind of where I'm at right now on my journey. A lot of us don't realize that we're on a journey. Um,
yeah.
I just really realized this past year. I lost my mother, lost my father a few years prior to that. But it's very different because our dad was living in Washington. So, it's I hate to say, but far removed from the situation. So I grieve for my father. He was an amazing man. I'm so happy he was my father because I feel I have a lot of his traits and whatnot. And in my mind, or just he was such an outstanding role model. I never seen dad do anything dishonest. He was always just such an amazing role model to me. Um, and I had such a contrast in growing up because, dad's style was very different from my mother's style. So I feel very rounded because, I had the real local moke style on one hand, and then on the other hand, very different style, right? So I feel very well rounded. But as getting at was our journey. And a lot of us don't realize that we're on a journey. And because of what all went down this last, a little over maybe 2 years already, right? My mother had Parkinson's disease. The symptoms weren't that bad. And right after she got the booster shot, within 2 weeks, she couldn't drive anymore. She couldn't write. And she just started losing weight like crazy. Anywho, her Parkinson's disease got turbocharged. I promised her that I would never put her in a home, right? And as it progressed and whatnot, she ended up falling down, breaking her hip. It just really, I ended up having to stay home a lot and not running my business. But it's important to me to care for my mom. I had a lot of cousins and family members that stepped up and showed a lot of love and aloha. And to be truly honest, I felt sorry for myself for 2 seconds. Yeah. Oh, I got this business and now I got to take care of my mom. And I was like, oh, wait, you know what, Troy? That's that's nothing compared to the fact that you can care for your mother and take care of her. I feel so blessed that I was able to care for my mom. And when I say care, the Parkinson's disease just wipes you out. Yeah. I never thought I would have to bathe my mother. I never thought I would have to wipe her butt. And, it was even very more intense than that as far as the bowel movements goes, because the muscles cannot make up its mind whether it wants to expand or contract, right? Another aspect of last year and our journey, my father-in-law's dementia went off the hook, and he was living in Kailua. My wife's cousin couldn't handle him anymore, and he did an amazing job for a few years, but then the dementia really progressed. Lisa had taken off from work, and 2 weeks I didn't see her because she was staying in Kailua. And she called me one night and she said, I miss you. I miss my kitchen. I miss my bed. And I was like, you know what? Let me go ask mom if it's okay to move your dad into our house because we get extra room, right? And mom said, yeah. So we bought him over. And this was like on trip because I was joking around. I was like, "Hey, this is Hale o Kopuna o Waipio Gentry, right? Like when care home, right?" And that's what it was because we were caring for our parents, right, with their health issues and stuff. I feel so blessed and grateful that I decided, to just take care of my mom as best as I could. My meditation, right? Thank you for my amazing life. Thank you for things always working out for me. That that second one is so powerful, yeah. And that runs through my mind all day long. Gratitude for things always working out for me. And it really does. I had a cousin that I hadn't seen for a long time. As we get into adults, we kind of doing our own, living our own lives and whatnot, and we don't see the ohana as much, right? So, she took really good care of my uncle before he passed, my mom's younger brother. I knew she wasn't working, so I called her and I was like, Ashley, second job. And she's like, oh, what? Doing what? I go, caring for my mom. I go, pay $20 an hour and I give you cash every day. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm good at it. I go, I know you're good at it. I know how well you took care of uncle and your grandmother on your mother's side. And so it was a blessing. She wanted to do it, and his family as well, right? That reconnection of Ohana and love was very amazing. Just looking at everything that happened, right? And even though it was negative, it's all part of our journey. We're all on an individual journey that interconnects with everyone. It taught me so much about appreciation, gratitude, and just appreciating the fact that I'm breathing right now. We get so caught up in making money, making ends meet in the rat race phenomenon that we live in, right? And I no longer worry about that. I mean, small kind, because I'm still a work in progress. We all are, right? But with these tools that I have now, it's giving me so much peace. I do feel that I'm manifesting the things that I want. I look around at everything that I have, and it all started with a thought, right? And a desire to have it. And bam, I have it. And I'm blown away. That's the law of attraction. Yeah. One of the first things that I realized that the law of attraction was working for me was years ago. I was the Boost Mobile rep for Hawaii, right? It was a kind of a trendy company, and I kind of fit the bill with my look for the brand, anyways. Every morning, I'm walking down my steps to go downstairs, and one morning, Harley had a beautiful pair of old school black and white Van high tops, right? And I'm like, oh, those are badass. I need to get me a pair of those. Every morning, I'm looking at those shoes, obsessing. Now, Harley's sleeping because he used to work at night, and Lisa's gone. So nobody knew that I was obsessing over these shoes every morning, right? One morning, I'm walking down the steps. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to rock his shoes today. We wear the same size. Nah, I better not. But I'm going to get me one pair. I want a pair of those. Those would look great with my jeans, right? About 2 months later, Harley comes walking into my room with one Vans bag, swinging them lettuce, right? Shows them on my bed. Hey, Dad, this for you. I'm looking at it. I was like, huh? So I open up the bag and it's the exact same pair. And I was like, Harley, did I tell you I was obsessing over these shoes? And he's like, no, and that's not from me. I go, where these came from? So my son-in-law, Jonah, bought them. He didn't care for them. So he gave it to Harley and Harley's like, oh, thanks. But you know what? I have two pairs of these already and I have this color. I can give them to dad because we wear the same size. Blown away by that. I'll give you one more instance of law of attraction working in my life. I got tons of them. But, I'm a Mac tools dealer. I spent 20 years in wireless. It just wasn't fun anymore. And anything I do has to be joyful and fun. Otherwise, why do them, right? I'm working for Sprint. I'm the prepaid account executive for the state of Hawaii. And it's not fun anymore. I'm a mechanic by trade and I've always loved tools. And a friend of mine, his brother was a Mac tools dealer, right? He was bugging me to drive a truck for him, but that brother does some trippy stuff. And I knew that eventually we'd end up butting heads and I would be looking for another job again. But I really wanted to do the tool business. So one night, man, I'm up, I'm researching Snap-on, Matco, Mac. Then I went on YouTube. Why do people love the brand? Why do people hate the brand? And all it boiled down to was customer service, right? And I was like, oh man, I really wish I could do it, but I didn't have the startup funds and stuff. Anyways, I really, really wanted it, right? So I went to bed. When I woke up and I opened my eyes, I saw the Mac Tools logo. I was like, oh wow, that's a trip. So I get up, I sit in front of my computer and I pull activation reports for Boost Mobile, and my phone rings. And it's my best friend, Andy Tanaka. His brother was a Mac Tools dealer, right? So he's like, hey bro, I never see you long time. I stay in the area. I was like, bro, I don't have to leave for another hour and a half. Go come over. I go make coffee and we'll go talk story, get caught up with each other, right? So he didn't know his brother was bugging me for drive on truck for him. So he comes over. I'm pouring the coffee and I go, hey, your brother been bugging me for drive on Mac 2's truck. Is it okay to drop F bombs on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, that's just how it is. And so
No, no worries.
I'm pouring the coffee and I'm like, hey, your brother was bugging me for driving Mac 2's truck. His exact words: fuck my brother. This is what we're going to do. You and I go 50-50 partners. I put up all the cash. You run them. And I was like, bro, you telling me you came here for talk business? He goes, yeah, I knew you would be home. I wasn't just in the area. I drove over here intentionally to bounce this off of you. I was like, bro, do you know what I was doing last night? Bro, the manifestation of this was like that. I was blown away. Look, I'm getting chicken skin right now. So I'm like, you know what, dude? I was researching this all night, right? So I talked to Lisa, my wife, and she's like, go for it. Because everything you do, you always land on your feet. I love that positive affirmation, by the way. All affirmations work. Even if you say they don't work, that's gonna work for you, right? So anyways, I'm blown away and everything just started falling in place. And boom, I'm a Mac 2's dealer. I'm living the dream. I drive a big truck, so I feel like a real man. I'm in the candy store all day because I love tools. It's Christmas every day because UPS brings me my shipments to sell every day. So I'm opening up boxes and oh wow, I got some more tools, right? The tools that I use every day just helps me, I believe, to be a better, kinder, more loving, aloha action human being. And again, my mission every day, and this came to me not too long ago. My mission every day is not to sell tools. My mission every day is simply to spread joy and aloha. And bottom line, that's just love. I really feel that the divine God, soul source, whatever you believe, has blessed me with these tools. And I do believe that because I cannot help it, yeah. Like I said, I talk to you on the phone, people I know, people I don't even know, right? Business kind conversations. I had to call Malama Solar because my photovoltaic battery thing is giving me an error message, right? So I talk his story with the girl. And then just before we hang up, I go, hey, you mind if I share with you how I start every day? So I gave her the full speech, right? And she's like, oh my God, thank you for sharing that with me because I really needed to hear that today. That happens so many times, every time it falls out of my mouth, it happens. It seems like that message needed to be said, because we're so caught up in the BS of this system of things, I guess you could call it or whatever. But that saying, you create your own universe. I totally identify with that now. I don't worry about what's going on with politics anymore because it robbed me of my joy tremendously, right? Because I don't pay attention to it anymore. My life is no, I mean, my life is actually better, honestly, because I'm not paying attention to all the negativity. And I do feel that, it's trying to cause division, right? They want us to think a certain way, believe a certain thing. And if I create my own universe, then I am the master of my universe. So, with the tools that I have, I lead a much joyful, happy existence every single day. And I take it day by day for sure because we're fragile and we might not be here tomorrow. And I learned that so much more with the passing of my parents and my father in law. We're all on a beautiful journey. We just have to realize that the journey is beautiful. With that, I'll go kind of shut up a little while because I cannot believe I just went talk nonstop for who knows how long.
Ah, no
uh,
worries. I think it's, and thank you for being so open. There's a lot of different things that I know we've talked about before, but to kind of like unpack it a little bit. You mentioned the conversation we had about setting intention, and I liken
mm,
that to, you can skip ads, you can set up your playlist, you can tune into the radio if you still listen to the radio and choose where you want to go. And one of the ones I heard a long time ago too was if you get on the wrong train, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Like a lot of us, all of us are subject to intrusive thoughts, but what do we do? What are the tools that we use so that they don't become, just the noise that's taking it over? Because we cannot control what floats in and out. I think part of that has to do with there's just energy everywhere. And
mhm,
we, as compassionate, soulful beings, whether we're conscious of that or not, I think there's a natural sense in nature to want to balance. So if there's a negative energy, I think sometimes it floats too because the positive energy needs to balance it. And
mhm,
right now in the world, there's a lot of negativity, to your point too. Like there's a lot of narratives, there's a lot of things which ultimately do control how we spend, how we navigate our lives. And by spend, I don't even mean just spend our time, but where we spend like economic resources, where that goes, where that flows. So it's really important. And I love all the examples you give as you're talking about manifestation. I mean, I can think of countless experiences too, where when I look back and I see, oh yeah, I manifested that, or in the moment I realized that I'm manifesting that. And sometimes what's kind of funny too, and the example you shared of the events, we often think that we need or we want something, or we need to manifest it now. But the reality is like you have the ability to manifest if you're unattached. Really anything. And part of that is just being unattached to the timeline too, just being open.
yeah, yeah,
And the key really is being able to be at peace and to feel that joy no matter what's going on. And you shared that as well, going through a very challenging situation, dealing with the grief afterwards. And the reality is as long as we're alive, that we're still subject to experiencing those experiences even more. We're gonna lose more loved ones, unfortunately. We're gonna have different experiences that show up in our life that challenge us. One of the earlier conversations I had with one of my friends, Chris Nutter, and I interviewed him a couple episodes ago, but he was talking about how, people, there's a lot of waste of time. And then even if you wake up and your back's not hurting, like that's something to be grateful for. So I think about what you say, right? And ironically, I woke up, my back wasn't hurting, but I was playing with the dog and I bent down really fast. And then I felt that little twinge like this morning. And I laughed. You talk about trying to find a way to just see the joy, see the humor in it. And I like to think of it as the cosmic joke. I'd rather be in the cosmic joke than the butt of it, but it was just that little reminder, and I know I'll be okay. Like I'll work through it. I've had my back go out before. This isn't nearly as bad as it's gone out in the past, but
yeah.
I thought of it as, oh, that's the cosmic joke. It's taking me back to the conversation I had a couple weeks ago with Chris. I have a sense of where we're gonna go in this conversation today, and I wanted to share that with you too because it cracked me up. Even though immediately I was just like, oh man, because then automatically your mind starts going through, okay, I had this, and this that I need to do this weekend. But, do I really need to do things? No, I just got to be in tune with my body, see where I am, trust. If you need rest, rest. If you have to grind, grind. Like there's all these different things that I think we ignore because we think that we have to live in and follow a playbook, right? But the reality is no, you just have to try to find a way to learn and grow. And I think gratitude is a vehicle for that. Also, what I find interesting, you talk about synchronicity during this conversation we're having.
Mm.
My teacher, Adia, called, and I'll call her back later. But what's interesting to me, something that she always said, and you kind of alluded to it too, she always said, you're on the journey into knowing who you really are. And you touched on that.
Mm.
Yeah. The
Mm.
realization that we're on the journey.
Yeah.
And I think the answer is the same. What's different is how we describe that. And also what's different is how we navigate that journey. And that's beautiful in a way, right? Like if the universe is a whole and we're all a part of it, our souls are a part of this greater collective. I like to think of it as like a diamond. So even individually, on an individual level, our souls are like diamonds. There's multifaceted. They can reflect the light. There's a lot of beauty, and they're each unique. The same thing can be said about the grander, vaster universe, multiverse, whatever word you want to use to describe it. So it's really, as I allow myself more and more to just fall into it. And I'm not gonna lie, like I love too how you open up and share, still work in progress. I feel that all the time. I still get
Yeah.
stressed out, I still get frustrated. Last year for me was, for different reasons, a very challenging year. And this year is so far getting off to being a much more enjoyable year.
Mm.
And having the lesson of the two side by side, I need to continue to do the work. Because if I forget, and there's other things too, right? Like if I don't take care of myself, if I eat crap, if I don't exercise, if I don't get enough rest, if I allow those intrusive thoughts to become, the narrative or the soundtrack in my head, all of that can like throw out of whack. So like that's really what I think what's cool about the habit, and why I appreciate you sharing that for people to hear it. I love how you articulate it. I think you really come up with a very solid system that works. And,
Mm.
the more and more you do it, it's like the more and more joy you find, and another thing you
Yeah.
talked about too, you talked about nurturing of the inner child. And that's one that, as I've worked on a lot of the inner work components of life, like you can't you can't not ignore that. For all of us, and this is no disrespect to parents,
Mhm.
but every human being is constantly learning how to better love themselves. It's impossible to put on another person the fullness of what it means to be and to feel love. And I think as
Yeah.
kids sometimes, and I only recognize this now as an adult, right? Like growing up for me, our parents, they all both had two jobs. They both were grinding all the time. And then in addition to that, they're balancing their relationship. There's other things going on. And only in being, an adult, having more experience, going through my own struggles. And, I learned a lot of it from observing you too, like with what you went through.
Oh boy, I was a knucklehead too, bro.
Well,
But
I
yeah.
mean, just you talked about it with dad. Dad was really just a genuinely nice guy and a kind guy, and so are you. And when I look at the journeys of what you both went through with the ex, right? Like in dealing with
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, like that's heavy, that's hard, right? And
Yeah.
you came
Um.
out on the other end more positive, more loving, and that's a choice too.
Yeah.
Like people, every day we're faced with a choice. We can either be more love and light, or we can just like kind of give in and just be assholes, right? And
Yeah.
that's really the challenge that a lot of us, I think, are facing. So I just really admire, and I feel so fortunate to have had, and I look at it like, I think it's all the, our last name is Walter, right? I think it's all the Walter men that at least I got exposed to. And I look at your sons, your grandson, growing into like really awesome young men too, and I think we're fortunate. I mean, I know Bud old, he had his challenges that dad had to deal with, but he evolved. And then I look at dad, and dad evolved, and then all of us, I think we're just really on a unique path. And I'm super grateful for that, because well, I can't
It's the
imagine life,
journey. It's the
but
journey,
yeah,
bro.
it's
And
the journey, it's the evolution.
yeah, couple things when pop in my mind. I was just explaining that we are at this moment all of our experiences, right? And as a child, you 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 learn from your parents, and that's a cycle because they learn from their parents and their friends and their teachers, and just from all the information coming in, that's how you become who you are, kind of, just because of the data that is coming into you. And maybe the data isn't full on pono or shaka and all that, but that's the data that we have, and that's how we evolve, right? I did some pretty stupid stuff that I'm not proud of, and I used to beat myself up a lot about the past and those, those things that I'm not proud of that I did, right? With everything that happened this year and this journey that I'm on, I no longer beat myself up for the things that I did in the past, because now I realize all of those good and bad experiences is who I am now. It's the human, all of that has brought me to the very present point of right here and right now. And, you always speak about living in the now, being in the now, the moment and stuff. And, I realize, why am I beating myself up negatively? Because I might sound kind of trippy, but I love the human being that I've become at this present time, and I feel that with the tools that I have, I believe with the tools that I have, it's only going to get better and better for me, because I appreciate the journey now. I didn't realize we're on a journey. I no longer beat myself up for things that I've done in the past, because it's made me the human being, the man that I am today. Man used to be more important to me, right? I'm a man, uh, but it's more the human being of it all now. And I totally love the human being that I've become at this point. Positivity, love, and joy is addicting, and so is negativity. We all
Mm.
know some people, right? They're always in some bullshit. They're always talking shit. They're always grouchy. And when they do have that little flicker of joy and happiness, it doesn't feel natural to them, because they're always in that negative state. So immediately
Yeah.
they'll start some shit and go back to that, right? We've all probably maybe had a little touch of that addiction as well. I say
It's
it's addiction.
I think I agree it's addiction, and it's also I think it's rooted in fear
Mm.
because as weird as it sounds, there's a comfort in the same thing. So if the same thing is always negative, like there's a certainty in the negativity that ends up becoming comforting, which is safer than the fear, like moving into the fear, which will lead you to
Yeah.
something healthier,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's
And
just
it's the
wild.
comfort zone, even though it could be a lot of bullshit, it's still a comfort zone. So instead of, like you said, the fear, right, you go back to that comfort zone, right?
And I think it's a lot of it's like reframing. Like actually, last night I ran out to get pet food, right? And then there was a coupon, and usually I get the 7 pound bag because it's everything with inflation is just skyrocketed, right? So usually I get the 7 pound bag, but then it was the 15 pound bag, which will last longer. And I saw the coupon and I did the math in my head. I'm like, all right, yeah, you know what? Pay $15 more. Boom, fine, it'll last longer. I get to the register and the coupon was for a different flavor of the
Oh,
15 pound bag. And at that point, I was just like, you know what, fine, whatever. And it ended up, I paid the full price, but even then, the full price was still less than if I were to buy two 7 pounds, right? And I
yeah. So
walked
you
away and
still
I thought
saving.
about it. I still saved, yeah, not as much as I thought I was going to, but then I thought about it from the standpoint, I was like, man, all this time I've been like over here, like, because it's coming from a sense of fear. It's like,
Oh,
not
yeah, yeah.
trusting that when I need it, it's gonna flow in. But I've had a really interesting experience with that throughout my journey where, at everything that I need is always taken care of. I'm getting better at, managing and navigating like that aspect of thing, planning for the future. And I think as I just continue to trust, because when you think about it, especially with, you touch a lot on manifestation. In order to manifest too, you got to be connected to the concept that this is an abundant, wealthy
Yep.
universe
Yep.
that we live in. And by
Yep.
wealth, I think it's reframing wealth from, oh, you're going to be a millionaire. Not that that's a bad thing. Like if that happens, great. But it's a wealth consciousness where you start to see the prosperity and everything and really reframe it. Cause I remember taking this course from, his name's Ken Honda, and he's the Arigato Money
Oh,
guy, which we talked.
arigato money, brother.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
I got one
he
story for tell you about that too.
Well, what's interesting about him, what he was talking about was expanding what our comfort is. And for some people, that's gonna be $1 billion. For other people, that could be like $100, and it's okay. The reality of I think life is we gotta figure out and allow ourselves to be who we really are. And that's part of what the journey is too, and I think with your journey, how you've been living and practicing it, you know, you you are this peaceful, joyful being, which I do believe ultimately we all have the potential to become. But that said, I don't necessarily think that manifests for everybody in their journeys because of how that is. Like maybe
Yeah.
for families in the lifetime, it's for the kids, the grandkids, the great grandkids, but they need those other figures who struggled, and ultimately it's all love, because even the struggle, I think people sometimes struggle, they make the choices that they do based on their understanding of love. And then people change based on how they come to understand love and then navigate and do different things too. Like one of my mentors told me a long time ago that we're entering upon an era where the generations of people who are alive, it's our not birthright, but it's our kuleana to heal our family lines. So generational trauma that's been passed on through many, many, many generations in family lines. Like we're coming to the time where we can transform that, we can transmute that,
Yeah.
and move into other things. Because I've often thought of it from the standpoint of why, like I see this visual of being on a river, and then I have all these barrels in the boat that I'm on, and there's rocks up ahead. It's kind of like white rotters. And rather than just trying to navigate and deal with the bumpy current and then the rocks ahead, I'm like, hey, why don't I grab this barrel and throw it in front and make the journey more hard, right? And we don't have to do that. And that's something that I feel like I was very well aware of earlier, like much earlier in life, but only as I've gone through tripping and falling and getting back up, listening and learning, reading, research, dealing with the different forms of loss that come in life, do I feel like I'm only now starting to be able to stop grabbing the barrel. I still have
Mhm.
that ability to go back in my bag and grab the barrel and make it harder if I want to, but
Mhm.
I'm in a place where it's like, you know what, I see the other rocks ahead. Those are going to be challenging enough. I don't got to make it more challenging. What do I have to do?
Kind of touching on that little bit, right? The challenges that we go through every day, all day long, right? I'm doing what I do. I'm sharing my message. I'm sharing my tools. Basically, that's what I'm trying to do, is just share the tools that I have, because I didn't have tools when I was younger, and these tools that I use now, I have an amazing day every single day. For example, Wednesday, right? I went out and I made a lot of mistakes Wednesday. I was supposed to go to Kamakana Ali, to the Straub clinic over there. But when I opened up the email and I knew it was down there, I saw Polymomi and I went to Polymomi instead. And then I didn't make my doctor's appointment because I went to the wrong facility, right? And I was like, okay, we'll shake it off. Let's go and spread joy and aloha and sell some tools. So I went down on my route and it never had that much guys around. And I just wasn't feeling it, right? And I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to just go home. I came home and I was very grateful for the fact that I was alive and breathing. I didn't have that much interaction. I didn't make that much sales. I messed up on my doctor's appointment in the morning, but I was still very grateful for the day. And something as simple as my wife coming home, she came home at maybe like 6:37ish, around there. I hadn't eaten every day. I intermittent fast 20-22 hours every day, right? And so I just wait for her to come home so we can share the meal together, right? And she came home with Bob's barbecue kalihi. She
Mm,
came home with two Terry burgers and two cheeseburger deluxe and French fries. Now, that used to be my staple back in the day when I used to weigh 270 pounds. Right now, I'm about 180 pounds. I was sitting there, and honestly, the food didn't look that great, right? But we heated it up and we started eating it. And bro, because I never eat one Terry burger for a long time and one cheeseburger deluxe, right? And the fries were delicious. I'm sitting there and the joy and the happiness, my taste buds are just going off. And I was like, oh man, yeah, this is good stuff, right? And it boom hit me like a ton of bricks. Your day still was an amazing freaking day,
mm,
right? And towards the end, it just got more amazing, right? So right after I Paul eat and whatnot, I put myself in my gratitude zone, and just wow, even though today was a little bit rugged, I still am so grateful for the day. And then it just the beautiful cherry on the top of the kind was the cheeseburgers, and if you know eat that kind of stuff a long time, the burger tastes super ono too, right? I mean, it might taste Illinois every day, but that's how I got up to be 270 pounds.
But you know what's kind of interesting about that, and you were talking earlier, and it made me think of the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer, right? And
Mm,
I've read a lot about it over the years, and one treatment that I read about, and something I talked with Adia at times about too, is like think about it metaphorically, right? And you break it out line by line, but it comes up to the point: give us this day our daily bread.
mm,
Um, if you think about your daily bread, it means that you'll have everything that you need to be sustained to make it through. So, in
mhm,
what you just shared too, right? Like you had all these other things, but perhaps for whatever reason, for that day, it was the contrast and that aha that came through. That joy still popped through no matter what was going on. And, similar experience. I mean, when dad, I remember going and seeing, and I know we've talked about this, but, I had that dream, right, that made me feel like dad's slowing down. And I went up there and I remember sitting with him, and by then too, he had a hard time speaking, getting out coherent sentences too, right? And I just remember sitting there watching him nap, and I I felt so much sadness because he was just I felt like he was slowing down. He was getting more frail. I missed that we couldn't talk stories. And I still miss that. But in that moment, I was overcome by just such an interesting depth of love. And I feel like I share that story all the time in different formats and mediums. But it was such a powerful experience for me of what it's like to kind of like go through the contrast, think, just be on the journey, trust what it brings. And just allow love, let go, trust. And in that case, it was seeing love through the filter of, impending loss and the grieving that began with it. And it's crazy, right? But I agree with you wholly. Like, it's a beautiful life, it's a beautiful journey. There's times where I get stressed out for whatever reason. But then I walk outside and like the wind hits me and I just think like, oh, you know what, mahalo ke kua, like I love this. I love this feeling. Or like last year, other season, whenever I have really intense seasons of life, I find my way back to the ocean.
oh,
And
yeah, yeah,
it's not that I really spend a lot of time away from it, but there's times where I don't always go, but I know for whatever reason when like it's really heavy seasons, like I go more than I don't. And just sitting by the ocean, listening to the ocean, praying, watching the sunset, watching the light, watching the surfers, the people, just like really absorbing, feeling like the environment, right? And some of my most challenging chapters of life have led me back to that. And I think part of it is because when I'm there, I remember how beautiful everything is. And admittedly, I could leave and there'd be challenges, right? But at least when
yeah.
I'm there in that moment, it's that reminder. So I think part of the trick in the balance, and I think what's cool too, metaphorically speaking, you and your journey, tools are, you have a vehicle which transports you and you're selling tools, but also too in your own journey, you've come up with tools that have allowed you, which when you're there, really it's that message that you've learned from the practice and implementation of the tools that I think is ultimately a huge gift that and service you're providing for, the people you encounter. And it's really cool too to hear you say like, now you just kind of weave it into everything. And I've had similar experiences where I'll talk to people and I'll be like, "Hey, you know what? I needed to hear that. Thank you." Or,
Mm,
"Wow, that's just really like comes at such a great time. I appreciate that." And I can't help it. I just gotta be who I am, right? I gotta be myself. And the more we just that's the other part of it in the journey. We just have to be who we are. And I loved
mm,
what you talked about earlier too. All the stuff that we've been through are part of what makes us who we are. I'm an artist. I paint. Some of my best canvases that I've created have come over multiple layers of me painting over something that I maybe didn't like or whatever. But that first layer is popping through just a little tiny piece, but it adds to the whole and makes the whole that much better and that much greater. And
and
what I'm
it's the
working on
same as
now is
our life experience, right? That art,
yeah,
right? And the same thing, we're being painted on as well, right? It seems
yeah.
like I don't know, that just one kinda touched me just now.
No, no, that's like I think creation ultimately is one, magical tapestry that's woven together by, a hand that we don't see, but that we're very much a part of. I was just reading this article actually that's saying scientists are closer to unraveling the secrets of consciousness and, you know, implying basically that they found that there is a connection that binds it all, which I think spiritually a lot of people believe, but it's I know belief is hard. It's hard to believe without seeing, but that's the importance of feeling. You know, and you talked earlier too about identity shifting from being just a man to the wholeness of a human being, right? And I think that's really important because if you break it out in terms of energy, we all have masculine and feminine energy, no matter what
Mhm.
physical body we occupy or whatever gender identity you identify with. We're always dealing with different energies, right? But I love the human being analogy, and I've often written as human plus being because I think they're side by side. I think
That's probably
it's
where I got it from, because when I typed into the kind, I put that on there, title,
well,
human plus being.
I think it's important because I always heard it as like, oh, you know, your spirit's having like this human journey, but not we're also humans having a spiritual journey, and you know, I think a lot of people who delve into spirituality and new age thought sometimes lose sight of the real stuff. And then when the real stuff shows up, you don't know how to grapple with it. And I know I've
Um,
had chapters of that in it's just the process, you know, like balance
yeah,
is really when I look at nature, there's like there's day, there's high tide, there's low tide. We have seasons. I know in Hawaii we forget about the seasons, but we're still subject to them. You know, like honestly, we're in winter. It's cold now. Like I walk outside, I got the giant jacket because I'm cold, even though it's 70
uh,
degrees. You know, so it's what it is. And but
dude, it
really
was
when you pull
62
out,
degrees up here the other night.
oh, Bev would love that. I gotta tell her. But you know, it's ultimately it balances itself out, yeah. And I think that's what
You
makes it
know,
beautiful.
you touched on the human aspect, the spiritual aspect, and gosh, I can't believe I can't remember his name. Bruce Lipton. I was searching surfing YouTube the other day, and I came across one of Bruce Lipton's videos, right? And he's like, I was meditating, and I was saying, well, I know I'm physical, I'm human, and I also know that I'm much more than that. I'm also spirit. Why do I need to be both? And he said he heard in his head, the reason for the physical side is, how would you know what a cheeseburger tastes like? How would you know what the beauty of the opposite sex was, or the beauty of the planet was, if you didn't have, the just the feeling and whatnot? And Fred, a part about how would you know what a cheeseburger tastes like just hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, right? Because that was like, wow, that really makes sense. We're here to enjoy this planet, right? And this physical form that we're in right now. It brings me a lot of peace too, because now I know that, our Ohana that has changed their journey to a spiritual one, they're somewhere else on a different journey. And I'm sure it's all about, love and joy and experience, right? So,
Yeah, something audio would always say. She lost she lost her husband really early. She was really young when he passed. I think she was maybe 49 or early 50s, but she was young, you know, and she's in her 80s now. So when I met her it was just over 10 years ago. So she had, you know, lived beyond this loss. But one thing she often would tell me is a couple of different things. One is you know, tears are not for the dead, they're for the living. But the
mm,
other, which is something that I think other cultures have passed on to, but it's also the idea that we should celebrate the life, you know, and the reason we celebrate is because their work, the struggles, the stress, the adversity that they had to deal with while here, like that's all Paul. I mean, and you know, they're free, right? And I
mhm,
think something that is really important in life that certainly I value, it's that sense and that feeling of freedom, you know. So a lot of it for me as I've gone on my journey that's helped me to kind of release. I go back to the symbolism of my dreams as a child, Indiana Jones, pirate, pro wrestler, and help people, adventure and service, right? And as soon as I started kind of like allowing that and putting that filter over how I saw things, I think it really opened up. Like I didn't necessarily feel as bound that my career had to be so defined, or I had to do this one kind of job, or I had to, do this to be helpful or impactful. And it's been pretty wild to kind of watch and see it unfold, but also lead me into better situations where I feel like more at ease with being myself and being who I am. And that's something that I think, in life, I feel like when we're kids, there's a pretty clear blueprint of who we are, and then we gotta go and navigate and deal through all the BS, and then we get to a place where we kind of get back to that too, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you all the things that I heard in my journey where it's like, oh, this is what it means to be a man. This is what it means to do this. This is what da 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 da, da, right? But if each one of us have unique fingerprints, like our souls are unique too. Going back to the
Hmm.
analogy of the diamond, we're one part of the greater surface that's reflecting the light in one unique way. So part of the journey, and what you said earlier too, like even the negative stuff we've been through, and I don't know why I keep going back to the diamond analogy, but diamonds are shaped under pressure, right? And
Hmm.
if that's the case, then the adversity, the challenges, the hardness that we go through helps to really manifest that true beauty of who we are, and that's one thing I just really admire about you. You remind me so much why it's important to do this kind of work. And because I admittedly struggle, like last year was definitely one of the more depressed years of my life that I've gone through, and therapy has been a big part of it for me
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
But
last year was nuts, but honestly, it was still a beautiful journey. All in all, 2023 was something else, but I can honestly say the journey was beautiful and it still is beautiful. It transformed me into a better human being, I feel, and with more tools to deal with the loss of our loved ones, and the just instilling more of the fact that time, right? Yesterday
mm,
I was 30 something making trouble, but I just exaggerate a little bit. But and now I'm gonna be 57, and it was yesterday, and then I think about it even more. Like Lisa and I have been married, oh God, 20 something years already, right? It doesn't feel like that. It feels like it was yesterday, right? It feels like I just met her and, kind of sort of, right? But now when I reflect back, oh my God, it's been 20 something years, right? And time is just hauling ass.
mm,
A lot of it is spent in kind of being unhappy and trying to chase the American dream or make ends meet and all of that, and we kind of forget that we need to just kind of, it's a beautiful planet that we chose to come down on and experience, right? We forget, so all of these tools, the 2023 was a very educational time for me. It helped me grow more as a human being, and it helped me make choices that I'm proud of because of the tools that I have, and just the fact that I'm so much more conscious of this is a gift, that's why it's called the present. Yeah, kind of, kind of goofy cliche there, but it's so true, right? And we just really need to live in the moment. I've heard you say that, a bunch of times and whatnot, and we just get caught up, and so the goal is to realize we are wonderfully made. This universe is abundant. There's more than enough food to go around. It's just the human thinking of it, the human thinking of lack and all of that. And I really feel that these tools, and I'm looking for stuff every day, and it's funny because new information just comes, sort of, and then I'm like, oh my god, that connects this thought. Now that connects this thought. I trip out because even like in religion, Lao Tzu, 2,000 years before Jesus, right? Very same message. So I'm blown away. And every time something else, I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of part of the cleaning process for Ho'oponopono. But it's just a different wording of it all. So
yeah.
yeah, and so there's so much tools out there,
There's two things. I'm gonna say the second thing first because it's like the fresher thing on my mind.
Yeah.
But we're all gathered around the same fire, and we're trying to interpret it and explain it, right? And maybe someone in the front row, they're focused on the blue embers at the base of the fire, and someone in the back row, they see the smoke and the flames dancing atop. but it's still the same fire. So
Mhm.
the explanation of the fire or description of the fire is going to be different based
Mhm.
on the different perspectives and vantage points. And when you look at all the different religions, I think a lot of it is also shaped by the geographical, physical
Mhm.
experiences of the people. We're all trying to understand this journey and put the pieces together.
Yeah.
Because I think it's natural for us to want to understand and seek something greater than we are. And something else too. The second part of what I wanted to say was, I think our journeys are ultimately teaching us how to live, because we as a people, we've forgotten how to live, what's important, what actually matters. And at the core of it, we're all gonna have different ways of how we live our core values. And some people are gonna have very different core values, but I think the vast majority of people are seeking love, they're seeking connection with other people, and seeking a way to have fulfillment. And however that manifests, if that manifests in the form of work, with family, that's really for each of us to figure out as we go on that journey. But a lot of times we get these other views and opinions impressed upon us, and we don't give ourselves the freedom to explore and the freedom to stumble. Like, it's okay to
Mm.
fall. It's okay to make mistakes. We're always gonna make mistakes. What's not okay? Not that it's not okay, but what's challenging is when we get stuck. If we get stuck in anger, if we get stuck in fear, if we
Mm.
get stuck in
Yeah.
shame, that comes with the mistakes that we make as we learn and we grow. But the reality, and something I saw recently that I've been channeling into my art, is, okay, maybe on this canvas, what I'm practicing here, what I don't necessarily like here, it's giving me practice, because for the next piece that I make, I'm going to channel it there. Or perhaps this challenge, this season, is preparing me for what's about to walk into my life. Because, and I saw Gary Vee said this recently, but, if you 45, 55, 65, 70, 75, with the way medical technology is advancing, there's a good chance you got another 30, 40 years left. So you still got a lot of time. And what are you going to do with that time? And I think there's no time like the present to really just embrace and to feel joy, like. And that's why I love how you frame it, spread joy and aloha. And what's cool too is, and maybe you always said it this way, but for me, how I recalled it initially was, wherever you go. And what I've
Yeah.
heard you say
I
more and more,
recently evolved. Yeah,
well,
that's evolved.
so wherever I am, and wherever I am, right, implies like being in that moment, that presence. But
Right.
also too, what's cool about it is there's a lot of people that view that I am consciousness as one with God, with the creator, with the
Well,
divine, right?
that's
So
God's
it's,
name, right? I am. I am
yeah,
that I am, right?
Yahweh. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild, man. It's beautiful. And
It,
it's okay to
honestly,
remind ourselves of it, I think.
every day that I'm blessed enough to wake up is an amazing day, right? Dad used to say some days are better than others, right? And
Yeah.
it's true. But honestly, bro, as long as I wake up in the morning, my goal all day long, right, is just to be the best human being that I can be and spread joy and love pretty much, right? Aloha is love, yeah. And so and because that's my focus every day, I have a focus every single day, yeah. It's not just going to work, it's not just going to make ends meet. My focus is to be joyful and happy and spread joy and aloha. And just for me, right, by doing that, bro, when I interact with another human being and I catch that chicken skin action, which is pretty much all day long, I'm in heaven, man. I just try to make the world a little bit nicer place and help people with tools. I mean, some people probably think I cuckoo and stuff like that, and that's cool. As far as being me, like you said, right? This is me, and I'm comfortable with it. I just can't help it.
And that's what it's about. Again, like, I admire you so much, because I feel like for me, I'm
Right
still
back at you, bro. Right
working.
back at you.
Well, I'm still working so much at it, and I'm still grappling with making peace on where I've been. And I know I'm making a lot of good progress. And I'm a big believer in therapy, and that's been super helpful for me as I've gone on it.
And Jay, like I said too, right? I used to beat myself up a lot about the things that I've done in the past, right? I no longer do that, and it's giving me so much relief and joy because, right, you're an amazing human being, right? And all of the experiences that you have has led you to this point. And at this point, you're an amazing human being. For me, I just realized, hey, stop beating yourself up over the things you did in the past. It was part of your journey, and the journey is beautiful. Everything happened for a reason because it's culminated to the human being that we are now, right? So I no longer beat myself up over anything, it's just made me the human that I am now. And my goal is just to, be happy and joyful because time is short and I might not wake up tomorrow.
100%. And I have a question for you,
Yeah.
and it kind of takes me full circle to how the conversation began.
Mhm.
But in my last little one-off that I did here, I talked about like if you start your day with that "I love you" piece, right? And
Mm,
and as I was recording that, I out loud I said I was just like, God, like to be honest, like I don't say that to myself every day. Like I don't say that very often,
mm.
if at all. And I remember at times like doing the exercise where you look in the mirror and then
I
say
love
that.
you.
And for
I do
me,
it
that
all the time, bro.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like for me, that doesn't feel natural and it's hard, right? But I'm curious, like when you first started doing this practice, was it something that just was so natural and fit? Or
No.
what is it like when you have those times where it's like, oh, this isn't comfortable?
Okay, let me give you an example. I think this will touch on that, right? So I can't help this, right? This falls out of my face all day long, right? And I love my customers, right? I see them on a weekly basis, and some of the shop owners, for some reason, as soon as I show up, they kind of telling me all the stuff that's going on and a lot of negativity and stuff flowing, right? Because they know I'm gonna come back with something positive and stuff, right? And there's this one guy, bro, I love him to death, right? But he's so stuck on the lack that he's manifesting more lack, right? So I try and give him tools and stuff. I told him to watch The Secret too, right? But the thing about it is, it takes work. If you kind of feel life is beating you up right now, then doing the same thing every day, life's still gonna bust you up, right? So you have to make a change somehow. And again, it comes back to tools, right? So the stuff that I share, I do it every single day, right? The morning ritual, I might not say it out loud every day, but once I realize I'm alive, boom, it runs in my head, right? Oh my God, I'm alive. Thank you for another day. Today I'm gonna be the best Troy Walter I can be. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna spread joy and aloha, wherever I am. Then I remind myself, I'm not gonna waste time, right? Because negativity to me is a waste of time because it interferes with the beauty and the joy of the planet to me. Yeah. So I say it, right? And I found that because I'm reminding myself, I keep saying it, and then I'm sharing it with others. When I'm sharing it with others, I'm actually sharing it with myself again.
Mm,
That kind of hit me a while ago, right? Because every stop, right? Boom, if it happens, right? And I'm catching chicken skin with these different customers at every stop. You know what, Troy? You're not only saying this to help try and give them some, I guess maybe spiritual tools. I don't know, just tools, right? Or am I saying it to remind myself also, right? So I think it's a double-edged sword on that, in a good way. And like I said, for it just I know can't help them, bro. The thing just comes out, yeah. So what I was getting at, I have this one customer, and every time I go, oh man, Troy, I'm sorry, I know can give you the time was a little bit slow, and we waiting for payments and stuff. And bro, I need one really good mechanic. Do you know one good mechanic? And so he's focusing so much on the lack, yeah. So I try to give him some tools, right? The thing is, he's like, because I had surgery for I was in around for 2 months, right? So I just went back on the road and I saw him, and then I kind of heard the same kind of things happening again. I need another body here to help me, fix the cars and stuff. And I get a hard time finding a mechanic and that stuff. So I've told him, I go, you know what, bro? Just see yourself having an amazing employee, envision it, picture it, right? See it. And then, and I tell him, I'm like, these are tools that I use, right? Thank you for my amazing life, or thank you for my amazing journey. Thank you for things always working out for me. So powerful, bro. Because if things always work out for you, what the hell, right?
mhm.
And money, right? Arigato money, right? So that's where I started this thank you for money coming often and easily as well. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm still a work in progress. And this week, Wednesday, I only collected $62, right? I wasn't feeling it that well that day, or was it 100? Anyways, I only connected real small, right? And then I've got mortgage coming up. I've got some Mac Tools stuff that I have to get paid off and whatnot. And I was starting to go back to the old style of worrying about the lack again, right? So I was like, no, 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 Troy, no, no. You know what? God's soul source, the divine, knows exactly what I need. I've already put it out there what I need. And
Mhm.
if I start worrying about lack, I'm gonna manifest more lack, right? So that's going through my mind because I could feel my old habits coming back, right? About money and stuff and getting, so I stopped myself doing I started doing my meditations again. I stopped thinking about the lack. And then boom, yesterday, Friday, I had such an amazing day. I sold a shitload of tools. I just gonna say them because that way you get on the kind, right? I sold $2,300 worth of tools. I collected 2,500 in payments. Okay. So boom. Now I'm thinking, okay, what the hell was I worried about?
Mhm.
All I have to do is focus on the things that I have gratitude for, which is my life, things always working out for me, money coming often and easily, and that's all I got to focus on and give gratitude nonstop for that. And so, right, Friday was a perfect example. Thursday, I even had one solid day too. I was able to pay a bill this morning that I needed to pay yesterday, but boom, the money just showed up in my account because of my business transactions, and then because of what I closed on Friday, Monday, I'm gonna have a nice deposit in my bank account to take care of the things that I need to take care of.
Mhm.
Why? Because things are always working out for me and money's always coming often and easily, right? And it works, you just have to not focus on the lack of things. And so this morning when I woke up, I opened up my bank account. I was like, oh, check it out. Right on. Like in pay brother, boom. I sent off his money via PayPal and stuff, And I'm like, yeah, yeah, Troy, you know what? God's soul source, the universe, knows what I need. I don't have to focus on the lack because once I do, I'm gonna get more lack because that's what I'm focusing on. So now I'm just gonna focus on the abundance and the things that work out for me. And you know what? Everything is always working out for me. One example: it took me a year and a half to put the whole business into my name, to get all the federal EIN number into my name, my state tax stuff all into my name. Actual said they were going to help me, right? To transition. And they basically wanted me to spend another 70 grand and start completely over when basically all we did was change members of the LLC, which I was a part of anyways, right? So I was thinking about it and I was like, oh man, Mac Tools is wow, this is not porno, and I'm thinking, wait a second, this is simple. Bruh, I have a high school education, that's it. Okay. Um, and I got this corporation trying to make me do something, right? And I'm like, no, no. And I thought about it. I was like, well, we are registered with Mac Tools as an LLC. All that's changed is the members of the LLC. The LLC is still the same.
Mhm.
Blast it off one email, send it off. The legal team, oh yeah, you're right. High school graduate, period. So I'm like, oh my God, and I really believe, even though it took a long time and Mac Tools told me they was going to help me, they didn't help me one bit. I just kept plugging away at it, plugging away at it. Um, it didn't happen overnight, but my meditation, right? Thank you for my amazing life. Thank you for things always working out for me is so powerful. Um, hey, right now, year and a half, it's been over a little over a year and a half already, but I got it all done. Everything's all in my name. I had a little setback with my knee surgery and whatnot, but I just meditated and I never, worked for 2 months, but I had enough tools out on the street. So I was able to bill, everybody every day still yet for the tools and the money that they owed me. And, that started to run out. And then I got approved to go back to work. So, everything's always working out for me. Soon as I start catching myself focusing on the lack, that's when I change. I might do some ho'oponopono on why that came up into my existence as far as the lack is concerned. But then I just go right back to, believing and repetitively saying thank you for my amazing life. Thank you for things always working out for me.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with saying money comes often and easily because money is beautiful. Arigato money all day long. You sent me that video, right? And I think I told you what happened. I resonated with that arigato money thing, right?
Mhm.
Ken Honda, 58 books in Japan, blowing up all over the place. I didn't order the books though, but I watched a lot of his talks on YouTube and stuff. And anyways, the very next day after you sent me that video, all day long, arigato money is on the mind, right? And a gentleman that had fallen ill owed me about $1,500. And wow, it's so beautiful because he knew he owed me the money. And then, anyways, he calls me, "Hey, brother Troy, I'm gonna take care of you one way or another, bro. I ill, bro, and I can work and all that." And I was like, "Okay, bro, I appreciate that." He calls me up. He goes, "Troy, my tool cart is I want shop down in Waimalu. I'll go meet you down there if you get time today, and I'll give you all the tools. I don't know if it's $1,500 worth of tools or what, but I go give them to you because I know I owe you money and I know I can use them anyways because my health." And I was like, "Brother, I really appreciate it. I'll go come down." So I went down, and it was a big 3 drawer tool cart with a bunch of tools and stuff, stickers all over, kind of pilau and whatnot, right? But there was good quality tools in there. And I told him, I said, "Hey, thank you. This squashes everything. I don't know if I'm gonna get $1,500 out of this. You don't need to worry about this anymore. It's squashed, and I really appreciate you doing something, right? And so thank you very much, right?" So he went on his merry way. I rode a cart around to the backside of my hydraulic tailgate, got the thing up on the hydraulic tailgate. This brother pulls up next to me. "Oh, bro, what is that on repo? How the hell you knew that was on repo?" Okay. I was like, "Yeah, it is." He goes, "Oh, bro, I check them out." I was like, "Okay, shoot." So he jumps up on a truck and he's looking at it. He goes, "Hey, mind if I take pictures of this?" I go, "Go." He goes, "I think my boss would be interested in this." I get home, I get a phone call from the boss. He goes, "Hey man, how much you want for that cart? Looks like there's a lot of good stuff in it and I could use a cart." And mind you, the thing was kind of bust up looking, just stickerized and just all unorganized, right? So I was like, "Well, the guy owed me $1,500. And so, I just trying to get my money back." And he goes, "Can I make you an offer?" I was like, "Sure." He goes, "I give you 1350." I was like, "Bro, sold. And I'll clean it up real good for you tonight and I'll deliver it tomorrow, right?" So I cleaned the thing up really, really good. There was a Mac, the brand that I sell, a cordless ratchet on there, right? And he saw that. He's like, "Oh man, I really wanted one of those too, right?" Unfortunately, that bugger was broken. But I'm a Mac Tools dealer and I have that in stock, right? And because he gonna give me, most of my loss or whatever, what's losing, maybe another $150, right? To get the bulk of the money back. I give him a brand new one in the box, right? So I go down there to drop it off, and it's on an airfield out at White Plains over there. And so the guy comes out to the gate, escort me to their hangar area and whatnot. So he goes, "Oh, the boss is not here, but you can just offload and help me put it in this container, right?" So he hands me the money and it's 1350. So I'm counting it. And then I peeled off the $50 bill and I was like, "Here you go, my brother." Because I was thinking Mahalo money when he pulled up and all of that, right? And then I got it sold. So I pulled the 50 out and I go, "Here, brother, this is for you." He goes, "Oh, no, 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 that's for you, man." I go, "No, this is Mahalo money, bro, or arigato money. So thank you
Mhm.
very much." I'm not as conscious of the Mahalo money thing, but I am conscious of it. When I do remember, I always do it, right? Because you want happy money coming in,
Mhm.
according to Ken Hamba. And when you spend that money, you want that money to be happy going that way because the person or the business you're giving it to is going to use it for household, food, entertainment, whatever it is, joy, right? Everything is so triply connected.
It
Yeah.
goes back to freeing ourselves from a space of lack. Like if we
Yeah.
trust that and we're saying, arigato, mahalo money, whatever it is, like, and we're sending it out, we're releasing oh, I only get this left. Like we're sending it out in gratitude, knowing that. And one of the things that he would say was like, "Oh, bring back many more of your friends," right? When it returns. So it's the same thing too. There's this other mantra I've heard a lot, but something wonderful is always on the verge of happening.
Mhm.
It's recapturing that, and I think it goes back to just the inner child. When we're kids, there's so much potential. You can have the greatest time with, you know, just a stick. You
I
can
was just gonna say,
you
bro, it's
create,
funny you said just a stick. I was gonna say mud, leaves, and sticks because I used
yeah,
to make mud pies.
you can create a whole world with just your imagination, and that's something
Yeah.
that we still have that ability to do, and that's where and it's that joy, that curiosity, that discovery, especially that kids have. Yeah, so it's just allowing ourselves to be at ease with and playing a little more, like in life, because it's a journey, it's a game, it's an experience that is ultimately limited. It's not going to be here forever. We talk about the moment, but I think of it often as one long momentary human experience of the soul. So as long as we're here, you know that could be a short period of time, it could be a long period of time, but you got to find the way to just really maximize and enjoy, because you're right, when it comes to time. Like, just yesterday I was talking to this young man who's 28, and I was thinking about this morning. I was like, man, I could be his dad, actually. Like like theoretically, like biologically, like based on my age, his age. And I look at some of the
Right,
younger
right.
people in their mid 20s or like late 20s, early 30s, that have kind of come into my space. And I've also reframed some of like my hitting my head against the wall as like, wow, like I'm actually well positioned to help and serve other people. And if I didn't go through all that stuff, I wouldn't be able to. But it gives me a lot of joy knowing that I can like help people. And like I'll hear it from other people, and they'll be like, hey, like, what you said, like, I really appreciate it. And I'm not doing it to get any kind of feedback or reward. It's cool to hear like, hey, thank you, I appreciate that. But
Mhm,
it gives
mhm.
me joy knowing that I can assist other people, or maybe I can like do something so that the way is more smooth. Because as much as it's about being present in our own and enjoying, I think if we have the ability to make the path more smooth for those who follow, like that's beautiful. And that's what is, I think, a sense of living aloha, and being pono, and just allowing ourselves to just give and receive love, right? And that's why I love hearing how you share it, how you see it, because it's just a reminder of the beauty of life and love, and it's available there for all of us. And
Yeah.
even if you struggle, it's okay. Just do the work. Like, that's actually the
That's
real
the
work.
that's the key. That's the key, right? Because I was telling you about that one shop owner and whatnot, right? He wants change, but he's still doing the same things that he's doing. So I try to give him the tools. So it's up to him if he wants to use the tools or not. But it really is, you have to, it has to be practiced and it has to be used. Wanting it is one thing, but using the tools to help it to manifest is, because we're so focused on lack. Yeah. So, just self-talk or self-affirmations, things like that, it'll change. But in order for it to happen, you have to do it. You have to apply it. You have to use it.
Yeah,
Because I know if I didn't say these things all day long, like I do, I'm sure that I would be a different human being. You know,
yeah,
I would be thinking about it, but because I'm not practicing it, I know that I wouldn't. Well, I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure that my prosperity and my joy wouldn't be as abundant as it is.
yeah. You
Um, I think it takes practical application, right? Because when you use physical tools, you actually have to use it, right? So if you have mental tools, you actually have to use it.
Well, I think about jujitsu, right? Like, if you're training 5 days a week versus one day a week, your execution is going to be so much more smooth, right?
Right.
And it's the same thing with something like this. And it's what's also another thing that I've heard people with jujitsu talk about too. It's believe in the technique, believe in your jujitsu. And I've
Mhm.
certainly been in places where I've questioned the technique because I hadn't figured it out, or I hadn't done it enough and it wasn't working. But then when it does work, like once you have that experience of it and you continue to lean into it, it just gets better and better. And then unfortunately, or not unfortunately, you encounter blocks, and then you got to go back to the drawing board. You reflect, you revisit. But even the meditation afterwards, like I was training with last week, and
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't doing something. I couldn't pass the guard. And then the week before we had gone over like this sequence. And then when I was driving home, I was like, oh, you know what? I was trying to knee slice, and then I was trying to like reverse, but I was catching these blocks. Why didn't I try this and block the hip and do that instead? And as I was going through that, I was just like, oh, that was like the fourth piece that I was missing because I was trying all the other things, but that's the one that I was missing in the sequence that if I had thrown in, perhaps would have opened something up.
Mm,
So a lot of it too, it's when we go through these challenges, allowing ourselves the grace to just keep working at it and keep growing in it and be flaws. And sometimes too, we get so I don't know why, but we can get so hard on ourselves, right?
yep.
Like there's this sense or this need to be perfect, just to do everything great. But the reality is like you look at the ocean, every wave is different. Every breath, that we have is truly unique. Every heartbeat of our heart, right? And if we approach life more like that, to your point earlier, and you start to realize the beauty in each day, the beauty in each moment, no matter what's presented. And if I think if more of us practice that, it'd be a it'd be a happier place for a
Yeah.
lot of other people. But you know what?
I hear
Just
that
because
all
other
day.
people aren't doing it, well, just because other people aren't doing it doesn't mean we can't. And I
Right.
think that's also a lot of what
Amen.
you really illustrate and do too. Because like you've freed yourself to do this because this is who you are and it works for you. And you've freed other people to be where they are. You're not going to change being yourself,
Right.
but you're not trying to change them either. But in being yourself, you do ultimately change other people because you've allowed and you change the world around you, right?
Yep.
And it's not about, I think, changing others so much as it's about change yourself, liberate yourself, and then you open up the world to all kinds of possibilities.
Yep. Amen.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I
Oh
know we can keep going, and definitely I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
for
there's a
sure. Wow,
part
just the
two.
kind of like, oh shit.
Yeah. But
Oh
are there any like closing thoughts you want to add?
yeah. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. This is a beautiful planet. So let's not waste any time in a negative state. Let's enjoy the now. Let's not let anything or anyone rob us of our joy. Sometimes a little tweak in how we think will give us back our joy, you know? And sometimes the way we think is not actually correct, right? Because we're all a product of our environments and how we grew up and what we've learned. So honestly, again, nothing more important than our happiness and our joy. And sometimes just a small tweak in our thinking and our beliefs will give us back our joy. And so with that, um, positive affirmations, they work if you think they work. And if you say they don't work, that's going to work out for you as well. So other than that, just keep spreading joy and aloha and everything falls into place. And most importantly, love yourself and forgive yourself because you're on a beautiful journey no matter what, no matter who you are, right? Even the homeless guys over there, they all on one journey and they're on a journey according to how they think and they speak, right? But you know what? It's a beautiful journey and we just have to wake up and realize that it's beautiful. And with that, I go shout out.
No, no.
Raja,
Part two one day.
love
But
you
I
too,
really
bro.
appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for being a part of this. And yeah, I'll put your Instagram and the link in the bio in
Okay.
case anyone hears this wants to reach out. But hey, Malo,
Brother, love
shoots.
you.
Love you too.
Ahuyo.
Ahuyo.